Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the Social Justice Summit. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Lajoi Lewis. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, you guys. We are super excited today to get into some resources that Dr. Lajoi has provided us. Dr. Lajoi is a mental health professional trained in multicultural, clinical community mental health. She believes in removing the barriers of access to mental health information for marginalized communities. And in an effort to disseminate mental health information and illness prevention, she hosts a weekly podcast, Dr. Potlicker, which I am super excited to tune into. The Potlicker Show utilizes tools of psychology, spirituality, and diverse ethnic cultural considerations in order to facilitate the awareness and conversations in our everyday lives around mental wellness and reaching our collective fullest potential.
I
So,
know that was a mouthful.
but it's so needed, and just thank goodness that there's people out there who are willing to do the work so that we have the resources and knowledge, to access this information. So today, Dr. Lajoi is going to present to us some social, emotional, and mental health resources information. So thank you so much again for being with us, and we're super excited to tune in.
It's my pleasure, and really it's an honor to be able to provide this information to folks who traditionally don't have access to this. And right now, because of the pandemic crisis, a lot of us aren't at our churches or in the beauty salons to be able to talk to our friends and neighbors about how we're feeling, how we're doing. The pandemic has created so much social isolation, and because of that, there are barriers to mental health, which is why I do the podcast. And again, I know it was a mouthful, but it is important for us to check in with ourselves spiritually, to be culturally connected, and to look at our psychological states, because we're not hanging out with our friends to be able to give us feedback. So that's the purpose of this workshop, to provide access and information, awareness of some of the signs regarding our social, mental, and emotional health.
So I do have a question for you, Dr. Lajoi. What
Yeah,
are some of those signs of mental health challenges?
I'm so glad that you asked, because in regards to the signs, we have different levels, right? We have the emergency signs, which we're going to start off with first, because everybody needs to know that when the emergency comes, you want to be ready. You don't want to have to get ready. So these are some of the signs for emergency support being needed. If you feel like you are a danger to yourself, others, or property, call 911. What does that look like? If the person is intending to harm themselves or harm someone else or threatening to do so, this is the number, 911. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. Now, I know that you're like, wait a minute, I don't have anything to write with. We're going to show you this number again, but please go ahead and get something to jot down all of these resources, because you don't want to have to look for them when the emergency happens. You want to already know and have a list, put it on the fridge, put it easily accessible for everyone. Now, if you feel like you can't take care of the people that you are responsible for, maybe you're not a danger to self, others, and property, but you are really starting to feel like you're getting close to that edge. You're starting to hit your limit. Go ahead, and if it's an emergency, call 911. But if it's not, schedule an appointment. Contact a mental health service provider. In a few slides, you're going to see how to do so and where you can do so. But for now, I want you to remember, no shame, no embarrassment. If you need help, it's better to seek help and call these numbers than to risk yourself or someone else being neglected and harmed. If you are experiencing milder symptoms, and if you are experiencing them more than for the length of a day, if you're experiencing these things for a week or 2 weeks, any of this stuff can make you feel like you're going nuts. And we don't want that. Any of this stuff can make you diminish the quality of your life, and no one wants that either. So let's be our best selves. Let's access this support. If you can't function because you're overwhelmed by your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, Or if you're finding that you're using substances too much and people around you are becoming concerned or you're becoming concerned, you need to access support. If you are sleeping too much or too little, if you're eating too much or too little. Now, if this happens for a day, it's a little inconvenient. But I don't know about you. If I do this kind of routine for a week, I'm going to be so out of sorts. My quality of life is going to diminish. And that's no way to live. And you don't have to live that way. So that's when you schedule the appointment. If you're having alertness issues, so now we're going to talk about our brains, right? You're super tired, low energy, you can't concentrate, you can't do those tasks around the house or the task on your job, you got to call. If you are feeling withdrawn, no one knows where you are, you don't know where you are, no one has contact with you, they don't know your whereabouts, this is important. We need to stay connected. We need everyone to stay connected in order to be able to check on one another and be able to access those supports.
Absolutely. So these are some of the signs of mental health. Now, once we realize that we need help, where do we go for that support?
You are right on cue, Mariah. You're feeling everything that we're making right now. This is going to be where you get that pen and paper and you write all this stuff down, okay? Starting with the emergency numbers. 911, the National Suicide Prevention Line is 800-273-8255, and it's available 24/7. If you can't call, but you can text, you can get a crisis counselor by texting LA, the letters LA, to 741-741. Another hotline that's available 24/7 is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline, and it's 800-662-4357. The reason I'm giving you so many numbers is just in case you lose one, just in case, the number hotline is jammed up, you want to make sure that you can still access service. Now, remember how I was saying you need to make an appointment if it's a non-emergency issue? This is how you do it. We always say first check with your insurance if you have it, because you might be able to get low cost or no cost service, maybe a $5 copay, or maybe nothing. You can find a therapist and you might be intimidated to actually make the call because you're wondering how much are they going to charge. This is where you ask for sliding scale fees. What that means is you pay what you can afford. Everybody pays something different. Now, if you are a college student, you can access mental health services on your campus. It might be low cost or no cost. Check with the Student Services Center or the psych department. And this is for everyone. The LA County Department of Mental Health has a helpline, also available 24/7. The number is 800-854-7771. I want you to know that even if you are a part of a migrant community, maybe you know someone that doesn't have citizenship and they're afraid to get help, you can go to LA County Department of Mental Health and still get services without risking some of these other issues. And by law, you have to be seen within 10 days.
Wow, that's incredible that LA has that resource for migrant communities. I mean, that's a big deal. And thank you so much for providing that resource. Now, what if we are a part of a specific population potentially needing reentry services?
I'm glad you asked. I think right after this slide, we're going to see just some supports for specific populations, reentry, substance use. I'm glad you asked. So as we wrap up our non-emergency support, the disaster distress helpline during this pandemic is also available, and it's multilingual. It's not just English only. And a lot of these are in dual languages, if not multiple languages. So the number is 800-985-5990. If you have a child who is in LAUSD, the hotline for mental health support services is 213-241-3840. And the National Institute of Mental Health has a hotline, 866-615-6464. So anywhere you are in the country, you can access this stuff. Now, going to Mariah's question, I love this website for non-emergency support. Let's say you or someone you know needs some inpatient, outpatient care, withdrawal support, recovery, housing, some kind of DUI program. The service and bed availability tool is available. Now, if you can't write down this long website, go ahead and take a screenshot of this slide, or you can Google SBAT, Service and Bed Availability Tool. They have a hotline that you can also use, 844-804-7500, 7500. And what I like about this website is it provides support if you are a part of the LGBTQ population, if you need housing or veteran support or reentry support, if you were formerly incarcerated and you need, services specifically targeted for you and your needs, this is a great one. Some other websites that I really like, exoffenders.net. You would just go to the area for California reentry programs and assistance, and you'll get a whole list of different places to go where you can get housing or work or mental health support, different groups. Another one I like is 211la.org. That has a whole lot of reentry programs, substance abuse, mental health help. I'm not affiliated with any of these, but I just know that they're really great programs. So let me just give that disclaimer. Another organization that I think is amazing is Project 180 Los Angeles and the Homeboy Industries Group. With these different websites, these are like clearinghouses. They offer wraparound services. So it's not just mental health. They look at residential, tattoo removal, things you need on your job, how to be a better dad, parenting classes, all kinds of stuff. So go ahead and check these groups out. That I think I hope answer your question, Mariah.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to just take a moment and say thank you so much for providing these resources in one place for us, because a lot of the times we're not aware that we have access to these resources. So that clarity, I mean, it goes a long way, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, right now especially we're limited. So I think it's amazing that you're attending this summit. I know you're getting a whole lot of information thrown at you, but just take notes so you can have it later. Now here is the last part of our social care, our self-care. Self-care is preventative efforts that we can do every day. Now, it doesn't have to be an emergency. It doesn't have to be super urgent. This is something that we can do to prevent some of those things. So, social self-care is getting connected, reaching out, not being isolated if at all possible, asking for help, but also telling people that you know are not good for you. I can't hang out today. You stress me out. I can't hang out today. We're gonna end up doing stuff I really don't want to do. That's social self-care. Emotional self-care is something you can do every day, and that's just checking in with yourself, writing in your journal. Spiritual self-care is very unique to everybody. It looks different. For you, that might be going into nature. For other people, it might be saying a prayer or meditating. But it's something that's a part of you that needs to be nurtured. Just like eating and sleeping, which is a part of physical self-care. We saw Mariah take a sip of something warm and yummy. That is our physical self-care. It is keeping ourselves hydrated so we can flush all the bad stuff out of our system. But it also means wearing masks, washing our hands. It's something we have to do every day. Now, this alleviates a lot of my headache, and that's practical self-care. Getting my stuff done, cleaning out the closet, paying the bills, all those things that just nag me. If I check off my to-do list and get this stuff done, I can relax. Mental self-care looks like going to therapy. I listen to my own podcast sometimes. I'm like, man, that was really good advice. I need to take my own advice. So listening to, a self-help podcast, engaging in positive self-talk, that's mental self-care. If you do something wrong, you don't have to say, oh, you're so dumb. Why can't you ever do the right thing? Instead, you can say, I made a mistake and I'm going to do better next time. That's being positive to yourself. Reading books, doing a puzzle. All of those things are things that you can engage in every day to help you on your journey to being your best self. That's something that I promote on my podcast, on my social media. So if you want to get connected, you can find me at Dr. Lajoi. You can check out the Dr. Potlicker podcast, which is free on Apple, Google, and Spotify. And you can continue to attend workshops like Social Equity LA is putting on today with the summit. These are all things that you're doing to build yourself up to be your best self. I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. And again, everyone, thank you for joining us for the second annual Social Justice Summit. Dr. Lajoi, thank you so much for this information, and we hope to have you back soon.
Absolutely. I can't wait.